Hey guys, Practel here, and today I'm here to help demonstrate and show off a couple of new changes that are coming to EpicDuel this update. Most of these changes are revolving around factions and how they work, and a lot of changes have been made, so it can be a little confusing, but I'm here to help you understand them, and Lycos will be helping me a little bit to help demonstrate throughout this video. So let's get into it. To start, we will be using the My Faction module, and immediately you'll notice some significant changes. On the left side, there's a panel right underneath your faction flag, and you'll notice that everything has been separated more easily, and you can easily distinct the changes that we didn't have before. You'll notice also now that we have Juggernaut wins and Juggernaut champion wins. This has been often requested, and we finally have the ability to put it in game and for you guys to look into it. Also, in the actual faction part of the module, you'll notice that wins and war kills have been replaced by influence. This is ultimately replacing all aspects of faction. So from now on, wins and war kills are being replaced by influence. Now, this is probably very confusing to you guys, so I'll help you guys understand a little bit better. So to start off, basically, influence has been split up into two different sections. You have your personal influence and you have your faction influence. So to show you personal influence, you're going to want to go to your character's stats and skills panel, and then underneath your faction name, it's going to say your influence. Currently mine is 70,435, and that's determined by 35% of your war kills, which you got from cannons and the George Low option, and then the rest from faction wins and wins. So that's personal influence. Now we have faction influence, and likewise to personal influence, faction influence never resets. Now what we'll want to do with this is now everything is revolving around influence as stated previously. Now to give you an example, instead of the previous 50 wins requirement to donate tokens to a flag, you now need 250 influence. Also, you now get penalized differently in terms of people leaving your faction. If somebody has been inactive for more than 30 days, you will not get penalized for kicking them out of the faction. But if somebody has been active within 30 days, you will be penalized for kicking them out of the faction. And I'll show you an example of this right now. I'm going to go to the Mine Tower flag, and I'm going to have Lycus donate a couple of tokens to the flag. Lycus will jump to me in a second, and we will donate to this flag. Now you can currently see that we have donated 0 battle tokens in this capture point. Now Lycus will donate about 500 tokens, and then we'll see how we, the faction, gets penalized when we kick him out because he's been active within 30 days. You'll notice now that we have donated 500 battle tokens to this capture point and have taken over the first position among the competitive factions. Now, since Lycus has been active within 30 days, if we kick him, the 500 tokens that we've donated will disappear. So I just kicked him, and we have instantly been penalized every single token he's donated within that 30 days, up to 10,000 battle tokens. So you can see now that we have 0 battle tokens and have lost our position. So that is a different way we've been penalized if you kick somebody out of a faction within 30 days. Once again, if he was in there for longer than 30 days, then he would not be penalized and we would not be penalized. Along with the penalization changes, you'll notice that factions now receive a bonus of 150 influence for each capture point they control. Along with that, though, they are now taxed 100 battle tokens per hour as compared to the previous amount of 50 battle tokens. This is a change that has been made, and we're trying to revolve around the influence factor more now. Now, some of you may have been wondering about the way that war ranks, or the faction ranks I should say, work now. Now that's a very good interesting question because they have changed completely along with the faction overhaul. Level 1 now requires 2,500 influence. Level 2 now requires 5,000 influence. Level 3 requires 10,000 influence. Level 4 requires 25,000 influence. Level 5 requires 50,000 influence. Level 6 requires 100,000 influence. Level 7 requires 250,000 influence. Level 8 requires 500,000 influence. Level 9 requires a million influence. Level 10 requires 2,500,000 influence. Level 11 costs 5 million influence. Level 12 costs 7,500,000 influence. And level 13 costs 10 million influence. And level 14 costs 15 million influence. So you can see that everything's been changed dramatically with the way that we do factions now. Now, some of you may have been wondering about how to earn this influence apart from the battles. Now, in 1 vs 1, you can win 5 influence for both your personal influence and faction influence. In 2 vs 2, you can win 15 influence for both your personal and faction influence. And in Juggernaut, you can win 15 influence for both your personal and faction. Now, you can also get the benefits of influence from other things, such as the flag capture. You also get 150 bonus influence for your faction with that. Then you have the alignment victory, which gives you a 250 influence for your faction. If your faction wins the 1 vs 1 champion, you get 1,000 influence just for your faction. If your faction wins the 2 vs 2 champion, you can win 1,000 influence for your faction. And if your faction wins the Juggernaut champion, you also win 1,000 influence for your faction. Also, if you win World Domination, you gain 2,500 influence for your faction. So a lot of things have been happening to factions specifically. The next area I want to address, though, is the actual faction headquarters. You'll notice now immediately that we're in this faction headquarters that all the faction cannons have been removed from the headquarters. And this is a temporary thing until we can adjust the cannons to the influence changes. And you'll notice that every one of them has been gone, but that's only temporary, and they are going to be coming back in the future. But that's just for now, and it's just to wait until we get things settled with the influence and adjust changes week by week, and they will be coming back. Also brought up in this video a lot has been the talk of championships and daily leaderboards. And along with this update, we'll be introducing 3 new leaderboards to the game. And the first one is all-time personal influence. The all-time influence leaderboards will accumulate the personal influence that you have gained so far, via the means that were listed earlier in this video. As you are aware, you know how the current leaderboards work, and this will work the same way, displaying the 15 people with the most amount of personal influence right now. Shown here is the one on Dev, which is very different to the one that will be on Live, since the Live version will be current to the game's stats. We also introduced all-time faction Juggernaut champions. Like the 1 vs 1 and 2 vs 2 all-time leaderboards for the factions, the all-time faction Juggernaut Championship leaderboard will have a list of the top 15 factions with the greatest number of Juggernaut Champion points. Factions earn Juggernaut Champion points by winning more Juggernaut battles than any other faction on a given day. Finally, we have the last leaderboard introduced in this update, which is the daily faction Juggernaut wins. And this will function like the other 1 vs 1 and 2 vs 2 board, and unfortunately we don't have any factions on here right now because when we test Juggernaut we're usually not in a faction. But anyways, this board displays the 15 factions with the greatest number of combined Juggernaut wins today. The top faction at the conclusion of the day will receive a faction Juggernaut Champions point, which will be contributing to the all-time faction Juggernaut Champions leaderboard. Lastly, guys, I just wanted to let you guys know that world dominations are now determined by your faction's daily influence, which resets at the end of each day. Only the top faction for the alignment that wins each day will be given a world domination. To access this area, or how to find out this, you'll want to go to the influential factions in the faction module. You'll notice that the day is just reset for testing, but today's influential factions will show up here, and you'll see that the faction, the anti-coffee faction, has 10,000 influence, and there are no current exile factions. But on the live servers, you'll notice that this is completely different. In the top faction with the most influence will receive a daily or a world domination. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching this video. There's going to be a thread on the forums where you can ask questions, and I'll be looking over that a lot. I'm sure the devs will be looking on it a lot. If there's any bugs, which there's probably going to be some, because sometimes the bugs just like to squeeze past us, report them on the bugs forums, please. And thanks for watching. Once again, we'll be taking your questions on these changes and whatnot. And peace out.